Okay, so I just kicked in the time lapse as you can see. So first of all, what I want to focus on is just a bit of foliage painting. Over here, just like as I said before, just a little bit in the cracks and everything. And I'm doing it mostly to bring in this very specific color because we have no green in this entire scene. So all of a sudden having like that little bit of extra green, it actually makes quite a big difference. And yes, I am adding a little bit more than we are supposed to add, but just in general, it just looks nice to just have like a little bit of extra foliage. But yeah, these are all mega scans, so please keep in mind that this foliage will not be included when you open up the scene. It's just for like the nice final presentation. And since I am time-lapsing this, I had the time to basically do this. But yeah, there's a few more things, like we're just going to like place some extra props and just general things like that. So for example over here, just adding a little bit more of those aircon units to make the most of it. I know that we are repeating them quite often, but you don't really notice in the bigger scale how often that we use them and that they are technically exactly the same. Because I only had time to make one aircon unit. But yeah, it's just nice to have these aircon units because often you see this, as I said before, in Japanese streets, they love the aircon units, which makes sense because it gets really hot in the summer in Japan, pretty much everywhere, and especially in the cities because of all the tarmac and everything. So you do always want to also have a little bit of a think about like the logic. I'm now not doing that much thinking about the logic. It's mostly because I'm going for a pretty picture more than I'm going for hyper realistic, hyper logical environments, for example. But yeah, for the rest there is not much to say about this. This will just take a little second. So I will just stop talking now until this is done. And you can see that I'm doing this like super quickly. And just trying to give every building a few extra aircon units. Do try not to block your lights too much. Like don't place them too much in front of like the smaller neon signs because then the aircon unit is blocking the light, which would be a little bit of a shame. And over here I'm just adding it also on the other side. Nothing too special. And there we go. Yeah. So that is pretty much it as far as I can remember for the aircon units, because of course I'm narrating over this. I'm now just slightly adjusting the light strength of some of the lights. I'm just looking them over, just making sure that everything looks correct, and then changing the light intensity wherever I want to. And over here I'm just going to place one extra light, which is simply white, just to almost give it like the feeling like that one neon sign is actually a little bit brighter, and it just lights up this entire house a little bit, and it's just like those subtle changes, they do make quite a big difference. Now over here I felt like that this looked quite flat, so I'm just going to grab a random decal. I grabbed the Patch B Dark decal, and I'm just basically placing it on my wall over here. Nothing too special, it's just as you can see over here, just to kind of like break up that really empty surface, because it was a little bit too big of a small surface. And yeah, I'm just balancing it out because I wanted to make it a bit too stronger and then it was too strong. So I'm just kind of like trying to go back and forth with it. And now for the rest, what I'm doing is over here, I'm just opening up the glass material and I'm just playing a little bit with the roughness. In the end, I end up only changing it from 0.25 to 0.1 because the reflections were not accurate enough. You can make these reflections more accurate using ray tracing, but that would be a whole nother deal if I needed to turn it on, and it would simply not be worth it for this specific scene. So I just went ahead and I just made the roughness not as strong. And over here you can see me like having a quick look, and like I tried to set my resolution capture a little bit higher, which kind of worked. And yes, what you can also do is you can also try and add more reflection probes if you want to have more accurate reflections, but just in general, it would never be as good as ray tracing. Ray tracing is still really good when it comes to reflections. Over here, I felt like that the left side of the scaffolding looked really dark still, so I'm just playing around with it. I also felt like that on my street light, the light going directly on our traffic light was just like a little bit too much. So over here for the scaffolding, I'm just creating a really large light without shadows, make it pretty much white, tiny bit yellowish, and then I'm just playing around with like a very soft intensity to kind of light up that one side a little bit more just for our main shot. And now over here I'm just once again like doing some balancing. What I'm going to do at this point is I move that back so that it is in my camera. And remember that in the very beginning I showed you the Decagon city assets. Now I imported those assets and I'm just using a few of them for like the canopies over here. Just like the little bit of fabric, it's just like that small extra bit of detail. And that's pretty much it. I try to add more pieces like over here, like these advert signs, but we simply did not have enough space for it. So it was not really worth it. But yeah, for the rest I'm just trying to find like this one big A-wing over here, which I can use on these pieces, and it just adds like an extra bit of interesting detail. Even though it's not made for this building, it still sort of fits and it just looks cool. So I just wanted to quickly add that on top, just for the fun of it. And for the rest I'm just playing around, seeing if there's any other props that I can use that would be interesting, and I end up just only using a few of the ATMs over here. Just like that. So just to add like a little bit more bulky pieces to break up those really flat surfaces that we have going along the buildings. And over here I'm just again like placing those and then working a little bit with my decals. And there we go. That's pretty much it for the Decagon props over here. Now what I'm doing here is I'm adding some point lights, and they are just white and they are basically only here. They don't have any shadows. They are just here to make the cables stand out a little bit more, because I felt like that I have all these nice cables but I could not see them well enough. So just adding that will just add some extra light on our cables and it makes them stand out just a little bit more. So it's just small changes like that. And for the rest what I'm doing now is I'm just cleaning up my scene. And to be very honest, I kind of forgot what I did after this, so let's just have a look. Most of this is just scene cleanup. I like to always keep everything like really organized in my folders, because it's so annoying if I need to try and find something specific in my outliner and I just cannot find it at all. So over here I'm just nicely organizing everything. Oh, I know what I did after this. After this I just went ahead and on the back side I just filled in the buildings. Just using my modeling tools, I just created a box. I did not even use the polygon edit tools. I literally just used the scaling tools. And I just have these boxes over here. Now, you won't even see this stuff. Like, because it's a dark scene, you would not even see any shadows coming from the backside of the buildings. But I felt like that I had the time, so I can just as well do it nice and cleanly. Just in case that you also want to have like a day and night scene and you wonder, why is this not working? Now just having like these cubes, even though I placed them quite quickly, will make sure that even if you add some kind of specific directional shadows, we are still able to not see the backside of the buildings. And that is pretty much it for this part. Now in the next part, it will be the final part of this course, and we will go over on how to take our final portfolio screenshots, do a tiny bit more polishing and create our final videos, and just doing a nice outro. So let's continue with that.